Okay, testing. Let's get started once I get some messages or some people in the chat, and then I'll get started. No. Okay, so I think I'm about ready to start. I'm going to do build out this tech tree. Let me just do a couple of shares. Okay. I think there's a lag. Oh, hi Martin, good to see you. It's weird. It doesn't actually say there's viewers, but so I can't tell who's actually in the chat or not. I'm going to open up my other laptop so I can get an idea of who's actually in the chat, and do a couple of shares. Can you hear me okay? It's quiet. It's quite a bit, 30 seconds. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I probably, we'll be fine. It's only 30 seconds. I can just keep on top of, any questions that come in. Still, it's a bit weird because I was hoping that this viewer log would update, but I think Streamlabs doesn't, it doesn't take into the viewers into account. Well, because I know at least you're watching. So I'll say hello to anybody that else is watching. I'm going to try and open up on my PC so I get another screen going, so I can get an idea of actually who's watching this thing. And then I'll go into it and talk about what it is that I'm going to be doing. How's things? How are you getting on, dude? Technology, trying to get everything set up is a pain in the neck. Anybody that's watching, do feel free to say hello. That would be much appreciated. Right, okay, cool. So I've got the viewers tracked. I'll do one more share and then we'll get started. By the way, can you hear me okay, yeah? Oh, you swapped your alt account. Fair play. Right, I've done a couple of random tweets. Right, time to go. Right, so the plan of what I'm planning to do here is I want to, so appreciate that you might not be able to see. So here's some of the mocks that I've been working on for this game. So for anybody that's not aware, I'm building a game called Lifted, which is a kind of a tribute or a throwback to sort of Drug Wars, GTA, the older GTA games. It's a combination of a sort of a clicker and kind of like a renegade sort of game, and a quick so if I just do a quick demo of the game and what it looks like. So this is just one of the scenes, actually. This is one of the scenes that I'm working on. So basically your phone will pop up. In this case, this dude's wanting to coerce me into doing some sort of work with him with animals, and you're not quite sure what the hell it is that he actually wants you to do. But what is going to happen, and this is the new feature that I'm building just now, is that I want to build a way, like, so you can say I've got 3 jobs here, 3 widgets, right? And the plan is I want to have 100, so that the users are at least, well, say 50 to 100. They'll have lots of different things to keep them busy. Over time, what will happen is they're like, so for example, here you can collect tabs, right? So it's really kind of like a simple clicker-esque, right? And then your limits increase. You sell tabs to make money. Then you collect bottle caps. You unlock Coke cans and things like that. Then you can sort of, for example, trade on the Forex exchange, which is again, that's a little bit unfinished. And this other one I've just recently finished, which is Smuggle Hub, where you basically go to a drugs marketplace, pick up drugs on the cheap, where you can make a good profit, and then you peddle them directly to customers by stealing shifts from Amazon or like delivery FedEx drivers. And there's a whole like nice scenarios and things in that. So those are in place. Now the next feature I want to add is kind of a clicker driven, where you basically train animals to go and steal money for you. So you'll teach up animals to go away, like for example birds to steal banknotes, and then like rats and rodents to steal jewelry and shiny things. So the idea is like you build an army, hence it's called the money farm. So I mean, yeah, I'm not the master of puns, but I think that one works out quite nicely. So the idea is that is that the user, you playing this game, you'll slowly build up, I'll use the word recruit, but you'll attract animals, right? And you feed them, so you have to buy grain to then feed the animals, and then you need to buy treats, which is like a higher level of grain to then, so there's like 2 levels. First you want to domesticate them, the next is you need to train them to be useful. So domesticating is getting them onto your team, but they can leave later when they get stressed out or bored. And then eventually, once they're on your team, you can then send them out on missions. So like a simple doodle, the way that it'll look is, it's not that one, so a simple doodle, and that's what I'm going to be building today, this tech tree here, so I'll get to that in a second. So the doodle is that this is my this is my simple design. So the idea is that this will be a widget which will show it running in action. So this big rectangle in the middle is the base. They'll go out to a pickup point where the birds will go out basically in the wild and in the cities and steal money and drop it off. But sometimes they'll return rubbish, or dead mice and things like that. So you'll want another group of more highly trained, say magpies, to filter through the shit and then drop it off at your collection points, up your dispatch and your receival. And then I've got another cycle here where you attract the animals. So you lure them in, and then you domesticate them. So it's their free choice, right? They can come and leave. So hopefully it's not going to be, I'm not going to have the RSPCA on my back here. No animals will be hurt in this production of this game. And then you got a nice cycle there where you train them up, and once they get good enough, they can then join your ranks. Now it's going to be quite funny, so you'll see, like, I'll even have like they'll alert you, so they'll send up, like, you know, they'll be like squat, 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 production low, and I kind of humanize them a bit so that they'll, like, later on you'll have so many of them that you won't be able, like, I've given them names like Bob and Bill and things, but then eventually your initial first 10 will become project managers, and then they'll start to recruit more birds and more mice and whatever to their cause, and you can then, you know, your profits can multiply exponentially. So that's the idea, right? So it was really hard to design because just like the recycle one, designing clickers is actually really, really, really hard because you need to figure out what your resource is. So in my case, the resource, I still haven't fully figured it out, but it's probably going to be seeds and grain. Money is the thing that you want, but that's not the thing that they want. So this was a bit more trickier, but quite fun. So that's where I am just now, and this is what I'm going to be doing. So this is actually a really, really hard thing. I got this from is it Swarm Simulator. So I liked the idea, and then I kind of just mocked up quickly. So what I'd like is, you know, this is actually quite a hard thing to code, because you've got boxes here, right? So each of these boxes will need to dynamically populate, and I'll need to get, so first what I'll need to do is figure out, this is essentially a tech tree, but it's a tech tree notification tree. I'll do a part 2 where I do the entire tech tree after. What this is going to do is, this is going to be like, you'll have like it's scrollable and have all of the elements that you can unlock, and there'll be like all of your, you know, they'll fill up once you achieve a certain objective. Now obviously this is really, really hard to integrate into an existing game, but what I'm going to do is mock everything up to begin with. So I'll create a bunch of like objectives that I've achieved. I just make them into a list, and then try to create a widget, like a panel, sorry, that'll display these dynamically. So there's a lot of things going on here, right? So we've got the plus 20 on the side, so that number will have to change dynamically based upon the rewards they get. There'll be a title, a description. Now for the stretch goal, I want it to have a loading bar at the bottom based upon how much % complete they are of the thing. And then on the left is like a little tick icon. So the top two obviously the same, so that's the first thing I'm going to work on. The bottom one will be, maybe the bottom one should be the first, because it's like not a description. Yeah, I'll probably work on the bottom one, then the top one, and then I'll do the hard stretch one, see how much I can get in before I go. Now just reading messages here, so it says, so payment system got messed up, people are being paid twice, we actually need to send them back letters. Yowza, that sounds grim. Yeah, old CDs, man. Yeah, I've got like, there's stuff like where you actually unlock a samurai sword and things like that, and you're getting really, really controversial in terms of like available contraband that you can sell. But there'll be like ethical stuff like GPUs and things that have fallen off the back of a lorry, so it's not that ethical. But it's always fun for me to start off with the bad things. So like when you learn a new language, you always want to start with swear words. So in my case, I want to start with I'll close this up. In my case, I want to start with the most interesting thing, which is the unethical stuff. But later there'll be lots of ethical missions that the user can choose, so they don't have to be a rogue. There's Undertale inspired, because in Undertale you can choose 2 paths. So that's definitely what I'm going to do. Okay, so I think I'm about to get started with this. I think we've got a couple of viewers, which is good. Hopefully get some more. Again, it's weird that my Streamlabs isn't actually telling me that, saying I've got 3 viewers now. So yeah, anyway, thanks everyone. I'm going to go get started. I'll probably close this window, don't think I need it. Yeah, I don't think I need any of this. I'll probably need it later for when I want to go and do, I'll be doing a lot of Googling, right, because this isn't going to be easy. I'll not step through the code because that'll just take too long, but basically just really quickly, I manage events using one file here called plot manager. So this whole code base is in Python. Just one quick reminder for those who have just joined, this is what I'm trying to build. So I'm trying to build a scrollable tech tree that'll alert me when I've unlocked a feature. You'll have a loading bar based upon progress, and you can then obviously click the ones that you want to unlock, or maybe the ones that you want to start expending EXP in. I've not kind of thought about what that's going to look like, what the actual how I'm going to implement it, except for in this money farm game. But that's the idea. The idea is you want one of these because it's so fundamental to games these days. And so what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is, in my code, I have a setup screen where I can effectively tell it what part of the scene I'm at. And I want to go to prototyping, because that's where a scene in my plot manager where basically there's nothing happening, right? There's no tutorial, there's no story scene. So this is so that's the first thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to make sure that works. So I'm running a project with Python main, and it works, right? So this is me in game. I can go and check the screen. I can check messages that I've had before. I can go and check my phone contacts, check the music. So I could play music. I've not got the audio of the desktop hooked up here. Clock feature. I'm probably going to remove the photos and replace it with a browser. So later on, I'm going to use a browser where you can do like really shifty stuff like pump and dump schemes for crypto, and you're going to do a lot of like sowing distrust on social media apps and things like that. So yeah, that's basically the plan. Now I need to start coding this. So whenever you want to code something, what you want to do is you want to do some pseudocode. That's the most important thing. Before you get kicked in, right? Because like development, obviously, if you're picking up a new project, you don't know all the facets that are going to go into it, even if you're a project manager or a dev. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new widget file, and I'm going to call it maybe tech tree. So I'll call it touch. Let me think. I'll call it. Just thinking what I'm going to call this, what name I'm going to give it. Tech tree might work. Maybe it's not quite a tech tree though. It's more of the notifications, and it's like a text scroller. Still thinking. Maybe suggesting the ideas if you've got any. It's a unlock. It's to do with unlocking. So yeah, let's show you my train of thinking, the way I do this. So I'll make the text bigger so you can see me coding. So what I'll do is I will create. That's fine. So I'll create a new tab and I'll start spitballing this. So it's an unlock. You could say unlock, lock, tech tree, notification. These are the words. Tech tree, unlock, lock, notification. It's a progress, maybe progress notification. Oh, upgrades, I like that. So there is an upgrade feature where you're going to click on the ones that you want to unlock. So it might be an upgrade summary. I think we're going to go with that. I like that. Well, I like that, Martin. Let's go with that. So let's call it, I've just touched ls. ls, right, touch, upgrade, upgrade preview, upgrade display, upgrade summary. I've got preview upgrades, preview. No, I keep upgrades because it needs to. Or don't see this is so what's going on in my mind right now is the reason why naming is so important, because if I go with upgrades preview, right, then that's it, and I just build it and it tells me what it is. But if I go with preview upgrades, and that's probably what I'm going to do, the reason why I'm going to do this is because this is clearly a really useful thing that I'm building. Like, it doesn't need to just be for this. It could be for other stuff, like in the game, you know, maybe specific to the 4X or the clicker or the other games. So I want to reuse this as much as possible. So there's definitely a big use case for that. So I'm going to call it preview upgrades, because then I could do another one for like preview, you know, blah blah blah, right? So I think that's going to work. Now the way I am going to start coding it is I need to call it, and the way that I call it is I've been using this process of a widget controller. It tells me which ones are available and which ones aren't. Now unfortunately, because I've not built a widget yet for this, I'm not going to bother to build the widget. So what I mean by the widget is, just to show you the code again, the widget are these things. I should show you the mock. Oh, it's not in the mock. I'll load up the code quickly then. So the widgets are any of these things. So they're not all going to look like this. I mean, the farm one's going to be much bigger, and it's going to have like the loops that I mentioned. So they're going to be like the birds are flying from A to B. So it's going to be quite cool, and you'll be able to click on different parts of the widget. But designing widget is another job in itself, and I'm not going to just reuse one. Or am I? No, I'm not. I'm going to focus on building the functionality first, and then I can incorporate it into a widget. So I'm just going to run it directly from Plot Manager. So that's what we're going to do. So the first thing is I'm just going to start to write out some code to make sure I can get it working, and then I'll do my pseudocode. So it's preview upgrades. Here we go. So I'm going to call it probably need to be a class. So the class preview upgrades. So the reason I'm making it a class is because in Python it's really easy to do classes compared to Java, and the simple reason is that classes can store state. That's the only reason I care. I don't care about like method overloading and overriding. It's simply because I don't need to create loads of other things to store like what's in a variable, or like, you know, if this is going to have a lot of data, I'd rather pass the data in like once and then have this thing manage the data rather than have to have lots of other jobs. So that's why I'm doing it as a class. So what we'll do is we'll go self. Let's think of the things that it's going to have. So it's going to have I don't know, it's going to have like, so there'll be I think upgrades is, yeah, we'll just upgrade. So the way right, so go, okay, so probably it is time to start prototyping and pseudocode now. So what I'm thinking of doing, how I'm going to solve this, is I'm going to have, so you can imagine the upgrades will be like, you know, upgrade 1, and it might be, you know, magpies unlocked, right? Upgrade 2 is going to be, you know, whatever, like new treats unlocked, because you feed them treats unlocked. Upgrade 3, predator prevention unlocked, right? Because obviously in part of the game is you want to try and keep the predators down to stop them killing your flock. So here's some examples, right? That would be the most simple thing to do, is, you know, and so these upgrades will just go in a list, but they've got more than that, right? So each one it's got, so what does it have? It has a name, right, which we'll call an upgrade 1. So it's got a name, a description. It's also got a score associated with it, right? So it's got like a number, like of whatever. So you could say, and now I need to decide, is this the score that they've achieved, or is this a score that they're like, so I probably need to think about this, like the plus 20 is like, is that what they're getting as a reward? So you could think of it as a reward tree, where it tells you like these are all the EXP that you're going to get, or it's what you need to pay to unlock it. Probably, I'm trying to think what might be the best way to do this. Let me think. So if it probably, we could go, it would be harder if it's a cost, right? But that'll be worth doing. So we could say like you click on it and then it just unlocks if you've got the money. But let's probably do that and then leave it there, because obviously there's a lot more. This could grow into a huge size, right? Because then you'll have to restrict what stuff that you can unlock, what you can display. So there'll be a function that I'll need to build to do that, to say what they're allowed to unlock. And then there'll also be a function of that I'll need to tell them like how many points that they've got left, and things like that. So let's do it simple for now, because what you want to do is in the pseudocode is get the basic framework done. So the hard thing will be getting these boxes to render, getting them to scroll, getting them to add the number, and then to do the loading bar. The functions behind that's going to be really, really easy. Achieve points, achievement points. Yeah, that's good. So the achievement points is the same as like EXP gained. It's like just telling you, okay, you've got this, and this is, if you do it that way, then it's like they automatically unlock them. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do it as an auto unlock, because the tech tree is where you want to actually click on the things in the pictures. So I like that. Yeah, let's go with that. So it's auto unlock, and so as soon as you get them, they'll just they'll unlock and notify. So we've got a name, a description, the points required to unlock, but doesn't need user intervention. That's what we do at the tech tree part 2, which one I'll do as well. This one is just going to be this one specifically is just going to be, they're just going to notify, so they're going to notify once they're unlocked. So there's a points required, there's a description, a name, and then there's a little logo at the left, and then as a stretch goal, we're going to do the loading bar, loading progress bar. Okay, cool. So this is the pseudocode of, so this is what it needs, right? This is what the data requirements, right? Now the process requirement should be something like you pass it the data, it renders, you pass it the data, it renders when called. I'll just use it, do a click, click, that'll be fine. Just don't need it to hover, just say renders when called, click for now. I'll also do and then notify user, like you want it to pop up once threshold met. Okay, this is a lot of stuff, and that's the pseudocode here. So basically this is what's going to do. I'm going to pass it data constantly. When it clicks, it's going to render, or it's going to automatically pop up when the threshold is met. So I think that's pretty comprehensive. So let me get stuck in. How's your painting coming on, Martin? Apologies for the drinking noises. Right, let's get stuck in. Okay, so this is a preview upgrades. So I'm going to say I'm going to have this pseudocode here. And so we know it's going to have a name, it's going to have a description, and the points required to unlock it. But to be honest, all of that will not be in the class, because it's going to be a list. So it's actually going to be, this is all going to be bundled in an array list or dict, right? It's probably going to be a list. I think is easier. A list of dicts is the best way to do things in Python, because then you can just pull out the specific element and then so like if I've got 10 of them, I could say, right, get the second one and get me the name of the second one. So use the array comprehension using numbers, which is really easy. That'll quickly get you the thing that they clicked on, and then the specific details can be in dicks. I'm very used to list of dicks because of it's very common how to use Twitter and things like that. So like if you're interacting with Twitter APIs or Reddit APIs, Getter, all of these social media ones, if you use like weather APIs and geo APIs, they all return the data as JSON, but actually if you do the programmatic interfaces, they'll return them as a big massive list of, and inside the list it'll be like an array, and then inside those, it'll be like dictionaries, and inside those dictionaries there'll be more lists. So it's a nice way to do it. Oh, you've got 5 more to paint. If you do one a day, should be ready. Wow. It sounds really quite a task to be painting that many models, but they look good from what I saw. Okay, so we're going to do self dot upgrade list equals, it's an empty list, right? That's fine. So I'll just do def render upgrade tree, and so I'm just going to, that's the function. I'm going to just do a print for now, print hello. Okay, fine. So now I need to call this, and I need to instantiate it as well. So I'll instantiate it at the beginning. So obviously the way that you develop games is you have to build lots of layers of coordination. So I've got like a plot manager, I've got like event manager, so that makes sure, like, you can imagine if somebody clicks on the phone but there's a cutscene, you don't want the phone to interact because there's a cutscene, right? So that's why you need an event manager. Now another thing is for setup. Now you can look at the amount of code, my code in the setup, and it's quite huge, right? The piece that I just finished off was this here. Where is it? Room smuggler. And this one was, I just finished this up the other day, and that's 1,400 lines. So quite a lot of code. But the setup's not like complex, it's just setting stuff up. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to assign to the game class this preview upgrades, or I've got review upgrades. Did I do? Yeah, preview upgrades. So the way that you assign a class in Python is quite easy. You just go. So you give it whatever the name is. Because I'm assigning it to the game, it's a game class already. I'm going to call it game preview upgrades, and I'm going to put it here, and that's it. I just simply pass it in as a variable, but I still need to load that class in, so I need to import it at the top, and I'll import it here from underscore preview. Let me just double check I've got it right. So underscore preview upgrades import all, import star. Now, okay, so I've got it, and I now know I've got it in my game object, and I'm calling it preview upgrades. So I need to check that actually works, and I can call it. So I'm going to call it. I'm in my prototyping loop here. So I'm going to call it here and just call the thing by just doing game.preview upgrades. That's it. That should just call it. Now in the preview up, so there won't be me jumping about as much as there is before. No worries, Martin. Just feel free to jump back whenever you've got time, man. 10 minutes, that's fine. Yeah, no worries, man. So I've got print hello here. So hello, I am in the main method. Okay, let's watch this go. Right, so you're going to see me doing a lot of fixing. Preview upgrades is not callable, that's right, because it's actually render upgrade tree. So I have to be careful here because it gets a really big and verbose. So I'm not sure if I want to keep preview upgrades and maybe shorten it, but for now we'll just keep it like this. It should work now. Nope. It takes positions but no one's given. That's because it needs self. So classes, when you make methods in classes, you need to give it self. So that's it working now, and that's fine. So hello, I am in the main method. So that's it working now, so that's good. That's the first start. let's focus on the main thing. Let's start building out this main chunk of code. While Martin's away, I'm going to probably see if I can get more people into the fray. I think streams, oh wow, that's weird, it logs me out every time. Chrome, I'll need to change that setting. I think it's automatically forgetting everything. Right. I'm going to try and get some more traction on this channel. Right, let me do another quick share. Don't like it how it uses that cover. Maybe I can change it. Nope. What I'll do is I'll quickly use LinkedIn one. Try to get more traction before I continue on, and then I'll march away for the moment anyway. Okay, back to the code. So first thing I want to do is build the rectangle. Do I want to do it in a notification box? Probably, but let's just build this out for now. Let me think. Yeah, let's just build the whole thing out. Okay, so let's do a bordering box, which is the image. So a lot of game development, you need to go through your images and figure out which one you're going to render. Some of them you're drawing dynamically with code. So I'll do the boxes dynamically with code, but I want to do the pop-up as I'd rather render this big one here, big active widget. Okay, so let me find in my code base where that is. So there's a little trick that you can just do that, and it's called GUI big active widget. So I'm going to render this first. See where it's getting written to. Let's go here. So I'm looking in my code base where I've used it, so I don't need to. There we go. This is the code here. That's not copied it right. Okay, fine. So what I'm doing it here is I'm getting the width and height of the object, and then I am going to draw it to screen. Okay, so I want to draw this notification box behind it. I think that's quite important because the notification box will then allow me to then build the bars in it, because I don't want to just cover the entire screen. So I need to pass in, so because I am calling this function and this function is external, I want to pass stuff into it when I actually call it. So I want to pass, these are two other classes that I've got. And these are really important classes. In fact, I think it's quite important that I add these in when I call it, so that I can use the resources from my other instances and objects in this thing. So this GUI is basically, it's got things like the screen width, and everything related to the GUI in the game has all of the data that's in the main game, and I'll need to pass that in so I can load the data here. So I need to give it access to the other elements within my source code so that I can use that to then leverage the data and build stuff out as it needs. So let's, first of all, before we run that, let's see this works. Don't worry, it always starts off slow. Apologies for those who are watching. Things will pick up much more quickly. I'll probably have to edit this video, post-edit. I did say it was going to be quite a messy thing to begin with. So let's make sure I can call these in and pass them in. So I'm passing them in plot manager. Let's see, that works. Okay, that works fine. Right, I'm going to start moving a bit more faster now that I've got things kind of put together. Apologies, I've not been articulating this well enough. So basically, so far what I've done is I've built a function, just a really simple function. I've incorporated it into the parent class, which is the main game object. So the game object can call this when it needs to. I'm calling it as part of the plot, so there's a certain part in the game where I want to use it, which is pretty much everywhere, but it's always better to manage it from a central place. And then now I've passed in these two classes, but they're not classes, they're objects. They're already instantiated objects that into the method that I can use. And these two objects are one that lets me have access to all of the screen, the resolution, and the GUI stuff, and the other's like just the main data of the game, like how many lives does a player have or something like that. In my case, he doesn't have lives, but the money and things. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get the width and height of the notification the notification tab that I want to display, and then I want to draw it. Now to draw it, I need to decide where it is I'm going to draw it, and so I think I'm going to do a wee shortcut and figure out, there we go. So these were the values that I chose before. It saves me having to work out what the actual values are. So GUI.width and height are again two things that are stored by the GUI class. Hey Martin, good to see you back. I think I keep getting people joining and then leaving, so they're probably seeing me coding and then being like, fuck this. And I think the reason is because this is classified as game, like game development, as game, but not game development. So let's see what's happened. Draw image is not defined. That's because I've written a class which allows me to draw the image. So I'll just do import from draw, import star. So just quickly show what the draw class looks like. So I've got this, each one of here, I've got a bunch of code. This one draws text, this one wraps it around, this one draws text with a background, like if you need to like fill in the background. This one draws flash and blinking text, that's like the time and things. I have it blank, that's how I created the feature. I use the game's inbuilt time to get around it without needing to store state. I use a modulus. It's a kind of a trick, right? Because if you go like 5 divided by 4, you'll get a remainder, and using that remainder can allow me to effectively do a trick to work out what fraction of time I want the thing to blink for. So it's pretty good. Fitted sentence box, shaded boxes, draw box and a label, text box, text and a box, text in a box grid. So this is like the main table where you can buy the drugs from. So this is where I've defined all of the stuff for all of my drawing functions. Okay, so let's see if this works now. No module name draw because it's underscored. So you'll see me get a lot of problems like this, but a lot of it is just to do with I've not written it right. So there we go. So that's what I want, right? So I want this pop-up window, which looks quite nice. I've also got D, which gives me the debug over it. So this pop-up window, I probably want to make it a bit higher, but no, I can still select the buttons underneath. So I think that's fine. I think this is going to be the maximum width of the bars. I don't want them to be any bigger. So that's fine, that'll do nicely. Okay, so let's now draw a box in here. So we're going to just draw a simple square box. And so the first thing I want to do is draw rect. But I could probably, for those who are kind of new to coding, I'll show you an easier way to do it. So I go Pygame, draw rect. So draw a rectangle. I mean, I just can never always remember. I think it's just pygame.draw.rect, right? So it's like, so I do pygame, draw rect. I think that's like that. Let's get an example. So there's the documentation here is brilliant. You can usually get an example somewhere. There we go. Click. And now I need to sign into GitHub. Oh, let me guess. Everything signing these days needs emails, validation, and things. Oh, but that one works. Yeah, there we go. That's about right. So, and then so it's GUI.screen. So the screen is the thing that I'm drawing it to, the canvas that I'm drawing it to. I think they define a color and then the dimensions. So the color, for now, I'm just going to make it just bright green. So RGB. So 0, don't want any red. I'll go for 200 green, 0, maybe about 10 on each side to make it look a bit not so dull. And then the coordinates. So the coordinates here, so I've got the window X and Y. I probably think that's a bit too bulky, but we'll just keep it for now. So in the example here, they've written, I think this is to allow them to do, yeah, okay, so that's fine. So I need to define what the box height is going to be. So I think the height and width of the box, I think if we open up the game, I'd like it to be not to absolutely smother the whole screen. We go back here, this example I did here, it's smothering the whole screen, but I think in this case I want it just to fill in this notification box. So I'm going to make it about 80% the width of the notification box and about 10% the height. So I'm going to call it, let me think, box element. It is an element. Are there going to be more boxes? No, there's just going to be one box. We've got box element, and X width is what I'm going to define. And I'm going to define it as a fraction of the, I should probably put this above, so I've got all my dimensions here. So I've got the window, so I put my notes here. Always good to put your notes as you go. So this is dimensions for the main notification box, and this will be the boundary. So everything will be a fraction of this, right? So I'd like my width, my box element width, to be, let's say, 80%, 0.8% times the window, the width of the notification box. Similar case with the height, but I'm going to make it a tenth, so that probably fit in about 8. You would think 10, but you don't want to just squeeze it all in. You want to give space and allow it to have a gap at top and bottom. So I've got more people joining the stream, so thanks for joining everyone who's watching. This is the objective, just to jump back here to repeat what I'm doing. This is what I'm trying to build, a scrollable box in the game. So in the game, that's me got the notification thing open just now. I probably want to open and close it based upon a click. I'll probably do that now. So I've defined the box width and height, but yeah, let's go and draw that first so I'm not confusing everything. So this is the dimensions for the main notification box. This is the dimension for the element. So this is the, I don't know what word to give it, but the individual box element that displays. So we're just going to call it element for now. So we're going to call it element dimensions. And now I'm going to draw the image just to show. So this draw image actually draws, that renders the notification box. So I'll stick that with the notification box. And so here I'm going to draw this, just draw a simple box that's green. And I'm going to draw, I've got my width and height set. Now I need to define what my X and Y are. So box element X. But it's always good to start off with X in this case because it's such a, I'm going to be I'll be changing this a lot. So Y box element. So when you render, for anybody who's not sure, who's just watching this for the first time, when you render a box, right, or you draw something to screen, you have to provide it the coordinates for it to fill out. So in this case, I'll need to provide the X, the Y, the width and the height to render the box in the background. Okay, so in this case, I think I've got where the window X starts and I know what the width is. So I'm going to say I want it to start, I kind of want it to not, so I said the width is an eighth, so I'd like it to start 1/10 in and have 1/10 of a gap out, and then that should total up to the full size. So I'm going to do it as 0.1 times the width of the, so let me think, so it's times the width of the actual window, so window width. So that's the I guess the relative position, but now I need to actually start it, and so I'll start it as Windows X plus that. So that'll look quite nice. And I want to do the same thing for the Y element. So I want to say, right, wherever the Y start in, I want to start from the top Y position and come a little bit in. So again, I'll come in about 0.1, and I'll call it the window height. So let's see if this renders. Who knows if it will or not, but let's give it a try. So I think it's usually X, Y. I think it's X, Y, width, height is the way that you render a rectangle. I can never remember. I've done so many, but I still never remember off by heart, because one of the things with coding is you'll usually copy and paste examples that you've done a million times because there's so many things to remember. Let's give it a go. Oh, there we go, perfect. So, oh, hey Pavel, thanks for commenting. I should just mention that there is a bit of a delay, so I'm just going to say hello in the chat so that you don't leave before I respond, before you hear me respond, because there is a delay in the channel, unfortunately. So I'll just say hello. Hey Pavel, good to have you aboard. There is a little 30-second delay. Sorry if I respond slow. Okay, cool. Right, so next up. So I think that's a bit of a good success, right? So yeah, and I'm doing good, Pavel, thank you. This is what I'm trying to build. So in the game, what I've got is I won't go over again, but general idea is I'm building a functionality which allows me to, so in the game you recruit, one part of the game is you can recruit animals to steal money for you, right? So you train them up, you train up magpies and rats and pigeons and things, and they'll go out and they'll go and steal money and gold and things, and you want to build an army of them so you can make a lot of money. So it's kind of a clicker game, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build a tech upgrade tree like this. So it's an upgrade preview tree, and so the first thing I've done is I built this notification at the back, this notification box. Obviously the screen box isn't nice. I'm going to get rid of that in a minute. and then I want to change the colors and make it dynamic. So that's where I'm just now. So quite happy that works. So the next step is I don't want this all to just pop up every time. I only want it to pop up if the state is on. So if self notify state is true, so I'm going to keep it as false. Now if it's true, it will render, but at the moment it's going to be false. So I want this only to render if it's true. So I'm going to go if self.notify state, then do all of the work. Otherwise, don't render. And the reason is because you don't want it to be writing over everything all the time. You want to be able to have it turn on and off at will when called. Obviously, in my case, I'll do it with a button click. But for now, yeah, I mean, in the future, it's going to be a passed in from data, and it's going to be passed in as an event. But for now, it's going to be a button click. How are you doing anyway, Pavel? By the way, Pavel, this is Marcin. He's also a friend of mine. So let's introduce you to both good friends. I've known Marcin for a long time, and yeah, thanks for watching. So okay, let's only kick this off. So I'm going to say only. So I'm going to have a little shortcut here, and I'm going to say if the user clicks, GUI.clicked, simple as that, I'm going to change the notify state. This just allows me to toggle it on and off. So this is a good, so a little trick, right? So this is a coding trick. Rather than me write, so I could, this is actually a good educational point, right? So rather than me do some code like this to say, if the GUI is clicked and the notification state is true, set it to false, and then do it the other way around, right? So like then say if it's false, set it to true. You can see there's going to be issues here, right? So obviously this is a classic coding problem that people have when they're kind of even middle level. It's not junior level. It's just levels that people generally have. So you can see there's a bit of a flawed logic here, right? Because obviously what you've got here is you say if I set the state to true, turn it off. But this is if I set the state to off, turn it on, right? So I've got a switch. What's going to happen is it's going to go true. It's going to switch it off, and then straight away it's going to switch it on again. Now the way people get around that is they use an else if. So they'll do an elif statement. So it'll do one or the other, which is a bit better. It's definitely not perfect. So now you can continue to build up states to do it this way. But the easiest way to switch something on or off in Python is to say if it's clicked and the notification state, if it's clicked, simply make it the opposite of what it is now. So self-click notify state equals not. So this is the word used in Boolean logic, but in Python it means invert. So it literally means invert the state. So this will allow me to switch on off. So you can see like some people might actually do like 7 or 8 lines of code for something that if they'd known would be a lot easier. And I've seen people like go for hours. So you can see switch on, off. Okay, that's me clicked on that bit. On, off. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So that works out really nice. So again, the reason for me doing that is just because I want to be able to not smother my code. Oh, assistant sysadmin. That's great, Pavel. I mean, sysadmin is like, yeah. I mean, there might not be a lot of sysadmin stuff here. What I mean, I can talk over later some of the environment stuff, like if I've got time, and cover off some of this. There is a little bit of sysadmin-y stuff, obviously, because I need this to run on multiple machines. But that's a really great role that you work in as assistant systems admin. It's one of, I think, me being a DevOps guy, there's a lot of familiarities and similarities there, and I've got a lot of respect for DevOps people. So, yeah, really happy to hear you doing that. It's also funny to see a reaction to Fat Emo's tag name. His name's Marcin, but it's a great, it's an absolutely amazing screen name. I think you've got that for Discord as well, right, Martin? Okay, so next up is I'm gonna, I could either add text to the box or I could add, so I guess I've got a few moves that I could make next. I could either make multiple boxes and increment them, or I could add text to the boxes, or I could do the scroll feature, or I could add the numbers to the right hand side, or have them light up as I hover over them. I'm not quite sure if I want them to light up as I hover over them, probably not, maybe just a slight colour change. So I'll probably add that in now while it's quite simple. So this is me drawing the box, right? So this is, I guess we're going to call this as, it might be worth talking through the process, right? Because maybe do this early before it gets too complicated. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to do this as a separate function, and you'll see why. I'm going to call it render box element, a render data box, I'm going to call it, or render upgrade box, that's better. Right, render upgrade box, and I'll have self, and it's going to have self game GUI game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a separate function here, def render upgrade box. And the reason is because I'm going to call this multiple times, right? It'd be silly for me, if I've got 10 boxes, I don't want to write the code 10 times. So what I'd rather do is be able to call this 10 times and then increment, so you can see the width and the height's never going to change, and but the X and the Y is going to change. So what I probably want to do is have here the values that I'm going to give it, right? X, Y, width and height. Now dynamically load these up when I call it. So I set these values first, and you'll probably see that this will also come in another function, because what you want is see like each box, that function is going to be, if there's 10 boxes, it'll be called 10 times, but you need one function to actually write the box, and you need another function to know how many boxes you're going to call, right? Because obviously it depends on the number of data. So I'll start with the one function to write the box, and then I'm going to populate it based on dynamic data. So I've got the elements here, and so I could just say, right, put the values in here, X, Y, so this is my X, Y, width and height. And now this will be passed into the function as this X, Y, width and height. So I'm going to change it here to X, Y, width and height. It makes the function a lot better looking. Obviously this color's a bit silly, so let's pick the color that is resonant here. So this is like the darker one. I like this color on the background, so let's figure out what this RGB code is. So it is 106, 137, 141. So let me see, 106, 137, 41. So just so for those who don't know, RGB means red, green, blue, but the mix of these can make up any colours that you need to do. So what I'll want to do is I want to obviously pick the best colours. Okay, so maybe there's something I missed. Let me see. Local variable win width reference before assignment, classic. No, it's not. I think it's just because I've changed things up a bit. Let me figure out why. What lines is 27? So it mustn't have been assigned in here, but it totally was. Haha, I see, that's a good point. So what happened is because it's not, it's because it's an if loop, I didn't enable it. So obviously the code didn't run. But because it's such an important thing, it'll go right at the top. because it's dimensions that are going to get used all the time. So that'll be fine. That should work now. Okay, so take 7, 8 were given. That's fine. It's just probably got self in it. It's a classic mistake I make every time is keeping self in the method that calls another method. Okay, that's kind of getting there. We're kind of getting there slowly. But we still only want to call, I'm trying to think how would be the easiest way to do this. Start doing comments so you can see what's going on. So this is the enable disable notification. This is the main panel. This is the main notification dimensions. Now that should work fine. It's still rendering because we want this render upgrade box to only happen if notify state is on. So what I've done here is this is a thing called decoupling, right? So apologies I wasn't talking as much between it. It's a little bit focused. I decoupled the actual functionality between the stuff that is static, which is the actual dimensions. The thing that matters is drawing the rectangle. Now the thing is these dimensions are going to change for more boxes that I write. So we've got a X and a Y. So the width and the height won't change, but the X and the Y is going to change. So what we're going to do is I'm going to simulate drawing the box 5 times. Okay, so I'm going to say for X in, we're just going to make up the element. We're going to make up a simple data element. So I'm going to call it dummy list. And I'm going to create a simple element of rows. So we're going to call it alpha, beta, Charlie, delta, gamma. Right, double check. The thing should be echo next, but whatever. So my PC's gone off because of battery, but I'm going to jump to back and forth to the channel just to see who's in as I go. Okay, so I'm creating dummy data list because I'm going to go through the data list and draw the box 10 times, 5 times in this case. I've got 5 dummy items. So notice that the color's a bit better. I think that's the color that I wanted here. So I think that's right. 10, 137, 42. Let's see, 1432, 37. 137, 41. 137, 41. That's slightly off. 106. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So let's see if these colors already exist in my list. No, they only exist here. So I'll probably have to change that to a nearest color. So I'm just I don't like using colors on the fly because then you lose track of what colors are what. So I've got a list of colors. Let me find the list of colors and I'll pick one. It is really important. I know that seems trivial, but it's actually really important because when you get to the point where you're wanting to display and show what you've worked on, if you need to make a change, you end up having to change everything and make multiple changes. So, okay, so color A, B, C, D, that's what I did. So let's work out what color it is that I want, and then we'll carry on and continue to write out the list. By the way, do feel free to ask questions. Like, if this isn't, if you're not understanding or if you want to know something, do ask questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to bash on and finish this. But I would like, if there's something that you're not sure what I'm doing or want me to explain, by all means, that would be really, really good. So GUI.color A, let's see what color that is. Okay, that's a dark one. That's quite nice. I'm probably going to change the background here because I don't like the background colors because it's not going to. Yeah, it's not going to go well against this. I probably need to pick a better color anyway. Yeah, it's not going to go well against that. So I probably need to think of like changing this. I'll probably need to change the background of this button. In fact, that's probably a better thing I need to do. The notifications is too bright. Go for something a bit darker, like that. That's better. Now I'll need to shift the whole hue. So there's a trick that you can do where you can go to edit, you can go to adjustments, and I can go and check the hue saturation and bring it down a bit because it's too, I probably want to saturate that a bit. No, that's a bit too extreme. Okay, so I'll probably, let me think for now. In fact, I'm gonna do away with that box. I don't like it. I think it sucks. So I think I'm just gonna draw one single box behind it and not draw the image. Window X, window Y. You'll see what I'm doing in a minute here. It's because I don't like the colours and I want them to sort of match, and that one's too bright. So rather than rendering that whole thing, I'm just going to render a square at the back. Let's see if this works. Yeah, it has, but you can't see the stuff under it, which is fine. So I'll need to render is it slightly different colour. Yeah, so I'm going to keep it as that, as A, and then change the others to B. A. Probably want to provide the colour in here rather than me doing it in the box. So I'll pass it in as a parameter. So GUI dot color B. Pass it in as color. Use that as color. See if this works. Any reason for doing this sort of game? Is it just a fun project? Yeah, it's just a fun project. Sorry, Pavel. So I'm going to be jumping over to here because I'll probably miss stuff. It's just a fun project, and it allows me to, like, the game. I don't know if I've demoed the whole game, but it's just something that I find really fun. Like, I enjoy clickers, and I want to be able to build one that goes my own way. I'll probably end up like selling this on the marketplace, and so yeah, I mean, the game is going to be you basically like Drug Wars or Grand Theft Auto, that you can join a team, you can unlock things, you know, basically steal, cheat, gamble, do forex, whatever, like recruit animals to your cause. And then like that's the part that I'm doing here, and then later the plan is you'll do each of these missions and build up more and more missions and experience, and then you'll be able to unlock more important and cool stuff. So it's a fun project. I mean, I've designed a lot of games before, but yeah, I think hopefully you should find it quite fun. I've got a tuple type somewhere for GUI XYZ. An integer required got tuple type. Okay, this is going to be annoying. Bugs. So let's print out GUI color B. It might be because I need to just wrap it, but Let's see where the code failed. It failed at 39. This is me backtracking as well. Okay, so that's interesting. I'll print all of these, see if any of these are messed up. And I'll print the color. See what I get. So those look good. Those numbers look good. 15427. Yeah, that all looks really good. So wonder why it's failing. So it's got the GUI.screen, GUI game X width height. Yeah, that all looks to be fine. Let me try. If not, I'll move on. It's not a big deal. I can move on and come back to it. Not sure it's required. Got tuple type. Is this because am I using an X here? I see what it's done. I think I know what I've done. So it should be a rect. Draw rect should have. You shouldn't render the colors there. Don't know why I put it there. That's why. Okay, so that's not bad. Took me a moment to figure it out. It was just again just my carelessness with using recs. So I've got color here, so GUI.color B. That should come together nicely now. Yeah, that's almost it. But the background, you can't see it because it's the same color as the desktop. So probably need to think about putting a border around that for now, just so it's visible. That's what I was failing on. It was expecting me to give it a number to say what a border would look like. And let's do GUI.color. Let's just make it clear white. 255. White just means fill up all the colors. I'm going to start moving faster now. There we go. So we've got white border. Although it still looks kind of silly being the same color inside, so I probably want to change it anyway. And I'll remove the border for now because that also looks silly. So we'll go for a color that we think looks most appropriate from the. I'm limiting my color palette. That's too bright, I think. Any Python, please. Yeah. Right. So that's. I'm doing a lot of prints here as well. Don't need to print that. Okay. So. Let's try color C. So I've got basically 5 core colors that I like to use. That's way too bright. It probably end up gonna have to be B for now then, unfortunately. Let's try and see if we've got an E. Later I'll play about with the colors a bit more, but there is no E. Damn it. Let me check, see if there's any more colours of good. So I've got like a green border, chosen hue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to see if there's any other. Let's try dark green border. Let's see if that's any good. See, maybe this one will be a good colour. I know I shouldn't waste about with colours. That's kind of silly. but it's important for me to get the look right. Yeah, okay, that works. So maybe I should invert that. Should I invert that? Is that a good look? So this example I had darker on the background. So let's give an example if I just mock up really quickly. I don't know, that looks still... Nah, I don't like that. Okay, we'll just go with this for now. I'm just gonna have to stick with these colours. They're kind of silly, but whatever. What's he want me to show again, dude? Oh, I need more contrast. Yeah, you're right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick a box for now, and then I'm going to worry later about the exact specifics. I probably should render the image, but I'll leave that image there just in case. And then I'll get rid of this border. Don't need the border. Let's get back onto the main thing, of the meat of the thing, which is the actual code. So I'm going to write out, so now we're going to do 10 boxes. And the way to do that is, so these are these are the elements, dimensions. This is just the dummy data that I'm putting in, dummy data. Now obviously, the box only needs to move in the Y direction, right? So if I build 5 boxes, I don't need to build, shift it along in the X direction. That's going to stay the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out, we're going to change the Y of the box element based upon the parent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to increase the height based upon the height of the box, which is, so we're going to say increase the Y value by the height of the box. But if I do that and run it, you'll just see that they'll all just like stick together. And yeah, so let me see, so am I drawing this? So when I run this, I was just outside the loop, that's all. When I run this, you can see that there's almost no gaps in them, right? That's because it's just adding on the height of the box before. So let's try a gap. To do a gap, you say increase the, each next Y value, we'll say 1.1 times the box element height. That looks better. Looking at this example, it's probably want it to be a bit bigger. So we'll go for 1.2. Okay, that looks lovely. Now, yeah, I think that looks okay. So that's spaced out quite nicely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I could do an outline on the boxes to add a bit more contrast. I'm not sure yet. What's this color? Let's just pick this color for now. It's not a biggie. Let's make it look a bit sensible. I'm going to call it non-standard color. Non-standard. So I put it up in here. Self box background color equals. I'm going to go for this 106 137 41. 106 137 41, and we're going to put that in here rather than use the that GUI color B. It's a non-standard color, but I've saved it in the class and I can figure a way to integrate it into my code in a smarter way. Okay, so that looks cool. We've got a nice background there. Could be a bit wider probably. I think I can move the box to the left a bit as well. So I don't think that's a good X position. Just leave a gap, so I'm going to do about 131. Shift it along to left a bit. Yeah, that's better. Leave a little gap so it doesn't look too intrusive. Then I don't want it to splash too far over on the box below. So we're going to make the height a bit less. So we're going to redefine the height as to be 0.95, the height. Just shorten height a bit. Okay, that's fine. So now we've got this kind of shunted off, which is, you can see it's starting a bit lower, which is okay. So in here I'm saying the Y box element, I want it to be a tenth of the height. We'll make it a 20th. Okay, so that's looking a bit better spaced out. I could probably make the boxes longer, unless, I wanted to have something at the sides, like maybe I wanted to have shunt it all to one side and then have a kind of dial, but I think we're going to just make the boxes longer. But they're one on each side, so if I make it that, if I make the width a let's just have a look, see how that looks. I think it'll be shunted to one side. Yeah, it's going to be shunted to one side. So I need the X position, box element X, H. I'm probably going to move this along to account for the difference. So what I'm doing is I'm just juggling numbers to make sure it fits nicely. So I think that's better. That's much nicer. It's much more symmetrical. Okay, that's good. And so we've printed out 5 boxes. So what I've done so far, yeah, needs more contrast. The lighter was better. They look okay, but do they scale with the text? Yeah, so that's what I'm going to go on to next. I'm going to show how to integrate the text. So remember, this is like step by step, right? We've got a box. We've got the boxes within them. Now we need to write the text in them. I think the last thing I want to do is I just want to change the box to lighten up if I hover over it. I think that's one thing that's quite important. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say if GUI.mouse collides, and I think, so I've written this function in my GUI function called mouse collides. It simply just says if the mouse position is in that position, then it'll return a true to say that your mouse is hovering over it. So I'm going to use this to highlight thing. So I'm going to say if the mouse position, which is, I define it as GUI X and GUI.Y, collides with this, I want to lighten the color. So in here I'm going to say color equals color, but in here I'm going to say color equals lighten the color. So this is, again, it's another function that I designed by about 30, I think. So I don't have, I think colors in common, a function I call common because I use it obviously by a lot of other functions. So yeah, it's there. So that's fine. So I just need to import it. When you refer to other things, right, like I've written code in other files, you need to import them. So that's what, imagine that's an important thing that you need to do. If you're coding, if you've got a lot of files, how do the files know where the code comes from? You use the import statements. And most languages do that. Java, Python, JavaScript, they all use imports. GUI has no object X. GUI.X. Oh, it doesn't have X. Oh, is it MX? I think it is. Yeah, MX, MY. Mouse X, mouse Y. See, I don't even remember the stuff I defined myself. Okay, cool. So there we go. Look, the boxes highlight, the boxes light up as I scroll over them. That's a really cool function. And the reason why that function works is because I wrote that hover function and I wrote the lighten function. So lighten function was I was Googling for ages and I couldn't get anybody to give me a straight answer. But what I figured out was I figured out just to increase the RGB by a certain number each value. So if I go to common, light, and I've got one for darken that I wrote as well. What I do is I grab the values and then I increase them by a lighting amount, and then if they go over 255, I just roll it background, or I limit it at 255. In this case, I've rolled it background. So I'm quite happy that worked out. And yeah, I'm happy that I've got some people watching the stream as well, which is quite good. Okay, so just to review, so what I'm trying to build here is I'm trying to build a tech tree that looks a bit like that, where you've got boxes that you'll unlock. It's for my game, so the game's a lot more complex than that, but the tech tree is a really nice thing that I think I want to have. It's a tech upgrade tree, as Martin quite rightly pointed out. So I've got the code now that when I click, I get the tree, and if I hover over it, it lightens up. So I think that's a nice feature, because maybe I can click it later and do something with it. But for now, I'm not going to worry about that. Now that the next step is to, oh, code dropped. The next step is to, let's think, what is the next step? To fill it up with text. So let's fill it up with a number at the side, and then I'll worry about then I'll worry about the actual data. So let's create, so now because I'm adding data in, like the numbers and then the tick and things, now I actually do need to define the data. So in the beginning, I talked in the pseudocode about there's a difference between a process requirement and a build and bundle data requirement. So in this case, basically, I'm going to pass them in as a list of dictionaries, right? So in the dictionary, it's going to have a name, maybe an ID. Do I need an ID? Let me think. So is the user going to do anything with this for now? Probably not, but I probably will need to add that to the JSON array later. So for now, we'll just we'll do a title. Do a title. We'll do the we'll do the title. We'll do the score. Then a description. Right. And so from this, I'll be able to get the values that I need to print them to the screen. Because this stream's going on quite a bit, I'll probably finish up pretty soon, because it's been 90 minutes. So I'll finish up at the 100-minute mark, but I'm going to show the writing text to the widgets, and I think that'll be a nice place to finish it off. So we need 5 of these to get it to work to the way that we had it. So you can imagine this will be data that's passed in, so the titles, we'll have to give them a name. So I could say unlock, I could say something like, feature A gained, feature A acquired. Just do the same for all of these just for now, just keep it nice and simple. Not going to use any creativity. Now I'm wrapping up, just do this last bit. So we'll do a score, 20, 30, 100, 10, 5. No, do a proper one, do 40. Okay, description. I am a Lauren Epsom. Is it Epsom? Is it like that? I think it is. It's Lauren Epsom or something. Anyway, I am a description. And we'll render these to the boxes, and then I'll finish up. Next time I'll show how you can make the boxes wrap over, but we're effectively showing how you populate them with data now anyway. So let's get this going. Okay, so now in the box we'll want to write the text relative to the box dimensions. So it's going to be GUI.draw So I'm going to use my draw function here that I defined before. Makes things a bit easier, rather than like, so in Pygame. So if you go to Google, and if you go to the Pygame documentation, Lauren Epsom, yeah, I knew I got it wrong. If you go to the Pygame and if I say draw text, it will give you some overrides, but they're not enough. So I've written my own ones, my own functionality. So you can see, like here, you can render the color and the letters, and if there is a secret add-on that you can actually render cutoffs. But my ones, I've got like the ability that like the text lightens up when it hovers, and I'll show you what it's got. So it's got. So now, by the way, now that so before we go into that, how am I going to draw the text? I need to pass the text into this element. So to do it, I've just called this text X, but I'm going to just call it as data. So box data, and I'm going to pass that in as actually the very first element after the main ones, because it's really important. And now it gets called in, and then I'll access each one as it's called. So each loop, these individual data things can be called by this function as it's kicked off. And so now I'm going to use my predefined function that I wrote to draw text, right? But in Pygame, you can just use their font.render. But the problem is you need to define the font, you need to render it, then you need to blit it, get the colors. And it doesn't have a hover functionality. I've got things where I can limit width and things. So I'm going to make the font for now GUI. I'll just call it font average size. And so the text is going to be this box data that I've passed in. But each box data will be the individual dictionary element. So I'm going to do the dictionary element, and I'm going to get the title. I'm going to access the title. And then the X and the Y. So here's the hard part. Like it's so drawing it is one line effectively, but it's actually, well, I suppose it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like 38 lines because I'm calling it an existing function, but you don't need to use that much. You can do it in about 3 or 4 lines. So now I need to define the X and Y value of the text, but that has to be relative to the box. So I'm going to define it as, let me think. So let's see, where does this text sit? So this top one sits right in the middle, and it's like, I would say it's in the top third. So we're going to say it's going to equal the existing X value plus 0.5 times the width, but that would shunt it along. So if we did that, and then if we did the Y equals, I'll show you what it's going to look like. It's not going to look great. 0.3 times the height, it's not going to look great. So I'm going to need to fix this up a bit, but we'll show you for now. And then the color of the text, I think, just to save time, I'm going to use this color of the text, which is, we'll just use the first one. We'll use the background one, which is try GUI.font A. GUI.color A. Don't need to center it, don't need to position it. The positions, if it's scrolled over, I guess we could do some hovering maybe. Let's try it out. So maybe you can have the text lighten up as well and hover over it. So this is what it's going to look like just now. So you can see that it's all red, right? And it's not even hovering anyway. And you can see it's off to the right. But this is a good start. So we want to make the text smaller. So I'll do small font, do small-ish font. These are just fonts that I defined earlier. So the GUI color A, I don't know why that's red. Let me think. Why is that red? Shouldn't be red. That's no biggie, but is it because I've specified it? I'll remove this, don't need that. We're gonna tighten it up after, but okay, that's fine. So this is looking a bit better, but it's still, the font could be bigger, right? So I think we are going to stick with a with a normal sized font. And now, how do you center this? I'll show you how you do it. So the first thing you do is, I've said, look, the X value is the same as the X of the box, so like the far left of the box, plus half its width. But the problem is you want to add the half of the box's width and minus the text and then half it. Because basically what you're saying is, take me to halfway between the box and then half the text on the left side and half the text on the right side. So you want to split it down the middle. So the way that you do that is you say it's half of the width minus the difference between the width and the size of the text. So I go get text width, and the text width is so this is, you don't need to worry about this, but I just need to get the text width of this this whole thing here, and this should, in theory, even it out a bit. There you go. So there we go. It's right in the middle. But now we want to move this up a bit because we want to give space for the description below. So we do the same trick again here. So we say it's the height minus the height of the text. So it's just going to be get text height. So what I'm doing is, the way I write it in is I draw the text within, I'll wrap up and I'll explain everything that I've done once I've got this working. So there you go, that looks much nicer, right? So compared to the original mock, it's not really much left to do. I mean, it looks quite a bit better here, but now we know how to write text, right? So I could maybe move this up, make it a bit bigger, change the font. I could do a bit more text underneath, so I guess I could, now I've done this, I may as well just show you really quickly. The text function that I wrote, we'll just do it all, like, 'cause I can do pretty quickly now. So the text function that I wrote returns the width and the height of the text as well if it's hovered. So I can just do hov width height equals that, and I can do the same again for the description. Well, actually, let's do the big one. So we're going to do GUI big font. We're going to do this for the numbers to the right hand side. So let's do the numbers to the right hand side. So we're going to draw the score, and we're going to draw it on so we're going to say the X value is equal to exactly the same as what we did above, but we're going to move it along further to the right. So I'm going to say about 8 to the right, and then the Y value is going to equal the Y value above plus that plus the height of that text plus maybe a little bit more. So we'll say so let me think about this a little bit carefully, just make sure I'm, yeah, no, that's not what I do. I want to do exactly the same here. Probably don't even need to do that. I probably only need to manage the X values, but let's have a look, see how this turns out. For some reason it's not liking, oh, it's just indentation. Okay, so here's a trick that you can do. If you get indentation issues, you can just select everything and just turn everything to spaces or tabs. Python doesn't care as long as you're consistent, and I'm not consistent. So there we go, look, so that looks quite nice. So we've got the score, obviously it's in the wrong place, but what we do is we just shift the score to the right place. So I'm saying plus 8 of the width, 8 times the width of the text box. Let me think. Because it should be score. So the reason why that was to the left is I was getting the width of the text above, which meant it was huge. So this might look a bit better now. Okay, it's looking still not great. So maybe it's because I don't really need. So I'm saying get the width minus the width of the height, so that gets me the bump along. I mean, I could easily just change this to go like 1.5, but I don't like, there's something wrong with my math. Yeah, I mean, look, I guess I could just say let me think, what's the easiest way to do this? It's because the width of that has changed, I think. Yeah, that width has changed, so I should probably not call this width, I should call this text width, text height. And then change that back to 0.8. Sorry, just take me a moment to register what's going on. So we've got the main text at the center. For some reason, the text, the text here at the right has come off. Not quite sure why. Let me think. So GUI screen, GUI, a big font, box data. So I've got the data right, X and Y, but somehow the Y is shunted. So if I don't do that and keep the X the same. Right, cool. It's the X value that's the issue, not the Y value. So we're saying it's the X plus 1/8 of the width minus the text width. So the width minus the text width. Let's try to just say 1/8 of the width first. Then we can, so it doesn't like that at all. Right, so X has been updated because I updated it here to the middle. So I should change this to title X and title Y. That's what it was. So I was, this is because I'm Russian, but basically I was referencing a variable that had changed. So this should work now. So text, so this should be, I want this to be 0.8 times the width minus the get text width. You just pass the font so it knows what font size it is that you're actually using, and then you actually have to pass it like the name. So this is the name, and that'll work that out. And I think, there you go, that's looking much better, way better. We can refactor the Y a bit to be a bit more, so I can call it like score Y, and instead of being 3 times the height, we'll probably say it like 4 times the height. Yeah, that's looking way better now. So I'll probably want that big to be even bigger, that text to be even bigger. I want it to fill up. So what have I got for in terms of font? Try huge font. I'll have to align this properly, but let's see how it looks generally in terms of size. Yeah, that looks really good. So now I just shunt this along to the right a bit. So, because the number's not that big. Yeah, so that you can see this is looking quite nice now, and they even highlight when I go over them. I can then add, I can continue to do the same again, right? So essentially, I'm going to finish there because I think you get the idea, right? So like, thanks, Martin likes the font. So I'm going to wrap up here. Let's go for what we've done, right? So I'm trying to build this upgrade tree, which is scrollable, right? I got it from, so if I go to here, the idea I got from it was from, let me see if I remember the name of it, it's called Swarm Simulator, and I'll put GUI, because there was a nice GUI. It's actually, like, they just took off, I think it was like HTML5. I think it was Swarm Simulator, I'm not sure if it might have been something else, but it's a lovely upgrade tree. I can't see the picture here. If anybody recognises where I found that upgrade tree, do let me know, because I just saw it, I got inspired and I made my own one. Oh, I think it was a like white background. But anyway, that's the idea. So what I wanted to do was recreate this for my game, and I wanted it to be clickable as well. So I wanted it to go on and off when I click. But I also want it to pop up with a notification, which I can do later. So what's happened is I've passed data in, so I've mocked the data, right? So I've mocked the data by just creating a dummy list here. I'll pass that in to this preview function. So let's go top to bottom and explain what I've done. Okay, so I've built a class, and in the class, this is going to hold the list, right? That's going to hold the real data that's passed in. It's got a state, and the state is what you don't want that box to be there all the time. You only want it to be on when you switch it on, or when an event, like say you get bonus points, switches it on. So you want it to only switch on when you want it to, and then when it's away, you want it to disappear into the background. In fact, you don't even want the function to be run. Then what I did is I defined the dimensions of the big outer box. That's the outer notification box, and I did that by getting the dimensions of the screen, the game window. So the game window, when I run this, you can see the game window isn't quite the full window. I've deliberately done that, but it'll be I can enable full screen, but it's not something I've done just yet. You simply type full screen enable. It's a one-liner, but I don't want it to do that because when I do full screen, it's harder to click away from. So that's where I get those dimensions to set that. I then, this is where I have my if condition. If it's clicked, then window pop up, or if not, if it's clicked again, window pop away. I then get the dimensions of, this is the dimension of each notification box, right? Your Y, X, your X, Y, width and height. I then define dummy data. Remember, I didn't plan any of this. This is all on the fly. That's why it's taking a lot longer than I thought. Because normally I bash through this quite quickly, but talking has been pretty tricky at the same time, but it's good exercise. And then I say, if the box is on, if I've enabled the box, go through the data, each row of the data, and first of all draw the outside box. Like this one is to draw the outside box, and then for each data draw the inside element. That's the green box. That's this one. So draw that box, and that's why it's a separate function, because you'll call that as many times as you need the box, and then increment the next height for the next box, because it's going to come round again. If you don't increment the Y value, it'll just write over itself. In fact, I'll just make a point of just showing that. So if I run this now, the box will just, you see it's all written on top of each other and you can't see it. So that's why you want to increment the Y value anytime that you go around in a loop. Obviously there's features more to add here, so there's pagination, which is always really hard, but that's why I've written this as a class, because I'll paginate it and hold on to it in the class. What happens if the data changes, right? So like it needs to update, and because that's why I wrote this as a separate class, I'll reuse this for other things such as like levels and things. So it'll need to pivot specifically to the level, so and have it. So that's why you want to hold state for that. So that's it. so that's basically how I did it. I wrote a box within boxes. So I wrote a big box, and then I wrote a function to make as many of the boxes as I need to display the data. So this text here, this does the title, draws the title. This text here highlights, right? So it lightens up. This here draws the main rectangle, the main element rect, right? And then the one below it draws a score. Now I could just draws score. I could just copy and paste this. Literally, I mean, that's how easy it would be. And just copy and paste this to do the tick on the left side, and then one more for the title, and then I'm done. Okay, so I'm going to finish up there. Thanks everyone for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it was a bit of a slog, but I really appreciate you guys watching me go through that. And I'll do a part 2. I need to trim this video because it was like way longer than I'd planned. And I'll add next time. I'll make it maybe rather than stream it, I'll pre-edit it and throw it out. But thank you everyone for watching, and that's enough from me.